Welcome to episode 130 of Geeks Who Like Sports. As always, I am Ray Carso in beautiful Los Angeles, California, and joined as always by my best friend in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Lee Elias. Lee, how are you doing on this Tuesday evening?
Ray, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm about 2 margaritas deep. I'm feeling pretty relaxed right now, so this is going to be a really good episode.
There you go. That's
my father's 81st birthday today, Ray. Ed's 81 today. Happy birthday, Dad. I love you very much.
Yes, I was just about to say happy birthday to Ed. I'm imagining that's why you were I'm sure he's
Couple
several more
margaritas
margaritas deep.
No, he had 1 pineapple margarita and he was fine. I have 2 children and I drank my 2 rather quickly. So I'm better now than I was about 35 to 40 minutes ago, but I'm in a relaxed state. I'm not, I'm a professional broadcaster. I'm not slurring my words. It's going to be a good episode. No, I'll be fine with that. I got my tea here. My dad's 81. He was born in 1940. He's a great human being. He raised me, as did my mother.
Yes.
And we're here today, and it all led to episode 130 of Geeks Who Like Sports. The dream that I had as a little boy was not this. It was to play hockey. But the dream that I had as a 38-year-old man, wait, I'm not 38 years, 36-year-old man, was to have this show, Ray. And 130 episodes later, I'm not going to do the math on what the 3-year anniversary would be. We have some time.
Yeah, it's April. April is 3 years, so we're 2.5. We're a little over 2.5 now.
2.5 years. If we were a baby, we'd be walking, we'd be talking, and incredibly annoying.
Yes, some might say we already are incredibly annoying.
I think we are, but they're here, they're with us, and just remind everybody, right? This is Geeks Like Sports, which means that I'm not stuck in here with you. You're stuck in here with me.
Yes, exactly. From Watchmen. So we got a big week. We got a lot of stuff to talk about, folks. We got a lot of sports stuff.
Topics today.
We got hockey, we got baseball, we got football, we got a lot of geek stuff. We're gonna kick things off.
Last baseball segment for a while today. Thank goodness.
Yes, as we're recording this, the World Series could end tonight. It's 5-0 Braves in the 5th. So hopefully that'll be the end of it.
Until Commissioner Badfred comes out and says, we're gonna do a best of 9.
Yes. So it's going to definitely be hopefully we're going to talk about what Manfred said this week as well. We got lots of stuff to talk about for sure, but we are going to kick things off with the geek segment. We got a lot of stuff here, a lot of video game stuff, a lot of movie trailers. Jaden is new to the live podcast, so we got as always on Twitch. We are live. Jaden wants to know if we answer your questions. We will answer your questions, folks, as long as it's with the subject that we are talking about. We have a good crowd tonight, though, here on Twitch. If you're listening after the fact, we do greatly appreciate
always like, subscribe, share with your friends. The show continues to grow.
Yes, no, it means a lot. We had it was actually a big week last week, and we appreciate that. So we hope that
we had good numbers last week.
We did, which is always good to see. It's encouraging. We need that encouragement during these times, ladies and gentlemen. So at least I do. Lee's Mr. Encouragement. So it's true. You're again yin and yang, positive, negative. It is how it is.
Wait, you think I'm an optimist or something?
Maybe a little bit.
I'm a realist with an optimistic point of view.
You lean optimistically.
I lean optimistically, but I'm not like the optimism guy who thinks everything's wonderful all the time.
No, for sure.
That's just
whereas
annoying.
I am a hard pessimist.
Well,
I am hard.
You're the. I just realized you're a pessimist with a big heart. You're like a Disney character. I just realized that.
I'm Eeyore or whatever.
Igor. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's his heart's gigantic, but it's made of black glass.
There you go. And
I'm one of the Wizard of Oz characters. It depends on the day.
And Red says I need to shave to cut into the Tony Stark beard. No, I don't. I did the goatee once. I'm not going to do it again. I'm going to stick with the full beard this time. But I appreciate it. Everybody always seems to have a comment about the beard now. I do appreciate it though. But funny. This was a funny controversy. Actually, a funny thing in the trailer. New trailer dropped this week for Book of Boba Fett. Somebody pointed out he has eyebrows now, that they're no longer singed off from whatever happened in last episode, last season. But Book of Boba Fett, we got the trailer. I am super excited. Much like most of the Disney Plus trailers, we didn't get a lot from it, but we did see our favorite characters in action, and pretty much the big thing that we predicted and that Lee predicted, of course, is that basically Boba Fett is replacing Jabba. He's trying to restore, take over the crime syndicate. As a very mob boss scene there at one point where he is sitting back and he's like, what, basically what would have happened if you said these things to Jabba and he was here, and kind of really cementing his authority.
If you said that to Jabba, he would have fed you to his menagerie. And then Boba Fett goes, please speak freely.
Exactly.
Brilliant. So the questions I have with this show, right? So number one is I'm proud of both of us. It's not that they hit it, but like, I'm glad that they confirmed kind of what we believe, that this is going to be the underworld of Tatooine and beyond, potentially the Bounty Hunters Guild. Saw a lot of descendants of bounty hunters in that trailer. Music was on point. Disney has been very good about not giving away things in their trailers. Yes. I rarely fear a Disney trailer. Okay. Because they do a good job, and they're not afraid to, this sounds weird for me to say this, but they are not afraid to lie to us in a trailer. Just like make up news scenes, like you'll see it. Just here's some funny stuff. Albeit Avengers Infinity War, where we had multiple scenes that were not in the film. What I'm looking forward to with this, and the big question I had, and I had this question during The Mandalorian, is that, Boba Fett is a character, was not a bad guy, but he wasn't a good guy quite either in the Star Wars films. In fact, he was definitely leaning towards the bad guys in those films. So, when he said in The Mandalorian, they're back, the Empire's back, I was very quizzical about what that meant, right? Yeah. Because he was rolling with the Empire for a long time. He was very close with Darth Vader. It seems like the two of them were actually not, I wouldn't call them friends, but they were confidants. So what does that mean for Boba Fett? Are they going to try and turn him good? Has he always been good? I mean, there's a lot of directions they can go with this, but I think all that matters, Ray, got a really nice, smooth broadcasting cadence tonight because of those margaritas. I'm not going to lie to you. We do this more often. All I'm going to say to you is this. I take a step back with these things. We got a Boba Fett show.
Yes.
You can't be upset with anything right now. Life is awesome. We got a Boba Fett show. Waited literally my entire life for something like this. The fact he showed up and then somehow got trumped at the end of season 2, which, by the way, is amazing when you think about it. I was content with the Boba Fett showing up. I was content with that. Then they brought Luke into it, which we're going to talk about that too, right? Because here's the deal. Here's the other question I've been asking myself, Ray. We talked about this last week about Anakin Skywalker showing up potentially in The Mandalorian. We know he's going to be Ahsoka. We know he's going to be in Obi-Wan. Yes. I don't think he's going to be in this show, but we know Luke is around. Yes. What happens when Luke finds out Boba Fett's alive?
And rebuilding the crime syndicate.
Right. Does he care? I mean, so easily could wipe that away with he doesn't care. He's not worried about that.
Right. He's got other things to focus on. He's rebuilding the Jedi.
That would be a really cool scene. You know what I mean? So they're setting us up for, listen, this is going to be either the greatest Star Wars season ever, or it's going to be a big letdown. The optimist is saying it's going to be great.
I was going to say, for once, even Mr. Pessimist over here is thinking it's more likely going to be good than bad.
The Force is with you, young Skywalker. But you are not a Jedi yet. Yes. I'm ready.
So I'm leaning towards it's going to be good. It's going to be good, and it won't be bad, especially because, again, Star Wars lends itself better to television.
This. Our friend Jesse's in chat under the handle NRed5. For those of you watching, for those of you listening, Jesse follows us for years now. It has not always been the case with Star Wars. He says, isn't that the case with Star Wars? No, my friend. I'm telling you right now, we always got to remind our audience this. Again, Ray and I are pushing 40. For most of our life, literally from birth till about 16, you were a loser if you like Star Wars. You got made fun of for liking Star Wars. And Ray and I quadrupled down on it. We read the books. We did the expanded universe. We built the Lego ships. We literally have the stuff in our house, the comic books. We got made fun of. We got teased for that. Didn't care. And then once the Phantom Menace came out, slowly but surely started turning back to being really cool. And what's ended up happening is because of Disney and because of Star Wars really resurging, kind of, Ray, I'd say we're the youngest of the original generation, in my opinion, right? We've all kind of come under this, and now we're sharing it with our kids. But long time, you got to remember this, from 1983 till 1999. There was no Star Wars, nothing, no movies, no television, nothing. It was just VHS tapes at McDonald's every 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I mean, in 97, we got the special editions, right?
Yeah, that started
like,
it. That started
yeah.
But, still,
but it was
it
was Phantom Menace that, like you said, really Phantom Menace where things turned.
I remember when the whatever they call them, the remastered ones came out. Like that was cool, but still, like it didn't. People were like, oh, you're gonna go see that, you loser, like you nerd. I remember that.
Yeah.
Right. Then Phantom Menace came out, and what happened was a whole nother generation got into it. It's funny because I've met people 10, 15 years younger than us, who grew up with those, and they go, oh, those are so much better than the originals. And I'm like, what? Right.
Yeah.
So that will not happen with the last 3 movies, but I will say this, that we've said this before, it is a golden age of geek right now, right? It is very, very into love comic books, comic book films, superheroes. And again, Ray and I have waited a very long time for this. And Ray, if I may, like we're kind of the living embodiment. We've waited longer than anybody because the people older than us had another golden age, or in the 70s. Yeah. So, and I'm not, this is not a woe with me type thing. I'm just making a point. We waited a long time for this, and we're talking multiple decades of useless knowledge suddenly being very viable. It's a great time to be Ray and I. We should make a podcast about it. Oh, wait.
We already have. 130. Yeah. But yeah, no, it should be good. And then answer Jesse's question. Yes, we will be streamlining Book of Boba Fett.
Oh, yeah.
As well. Yeah. Actually, we will be, the plan is right now to return to Stream Lounge with Hawkeye the end of November. We will end our short hiatus. Lee and I just needed a break from that. Yeah. But yeah. And speaking of geekdom, something I used to get made fun of a lot too is I used to wear a Venom shirt to school a lot of times. And
which
of course,
is awesome, by the way. See, that's just why we're friends. Because I'd be like, yo, Venom. And he'd be like, yeah, Venom. It's like, you nerds. I'm like, what?
Right. And now, of course, Venom is very in and very cool. And of course, just had its second film. And I actually went and finally saw it this weekend. And it's significantly worse than the first one, which is saying something.
Is it another case of great character and bad film?
Yeah. But I think that they also lost what made. I think they forgot that like Venom, like what Venom's supposed to be, and they leaned too far into like the buddy comedy aspects of things. And there was just a lot of weird plot holes, a lot of loose ends that should have been tied off. They did, as Lee predicted, they did tease Toxin. So if they did make a third film, which is a big deal.
That was my White Vision moment. I'm going to say, you called White Vision. I said Toxin. People, who's Toxin? I'm like, just watch. I knew they were going to do something. Look, let's be honest, Ray. I think with this, without spoiler free, right?
I mean, it's been out for a month. So if you want me to talk spoilers, we can. It's been out for a month. It dropped October 1st.
Look, this is what I'll say, and then it's up to you if you want to do spoilers. And I think we can go spoiler free for another week or two. But I presumed that this film would be a lifeboat to another place.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the only reason they made it.
I mean, at the very end, I mean, again, minor spoiler, they do basically tease the multiverse. As we knew, Venom basically ends up in the Tom Holland Spider-Verse. And how they did it, I thought was really stupid.
We think the Tom Holland Spider-Verse, to be fair. We gotta make sure.
Yes, it is a verse that has Tom Holland in it, a universe, but it just I don't know. I think how they handled. I don't think they handled I'll say this. I think they handled Cletus Cassidy better than they handled Carnage. I'll say that.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Like here's the deal. I'll say this. You cannot do Carnage in PG-13 correctly. That's what I would say.
No, that's really part of the problem, I think, also. And I think that look, if Venom 1 was like a 6.5 or a 7, this was easily a full point and a half less.
Well, well, I'll wait for that one to come on TV. Speaking of TV, you know what's coming out on Disney Plus soon?
Hawkeye? Shang-Chi. Oh, is it hitting Disney Plus now?
I haven't seen it yet. Yeah, it'll be there soon. No. If it's not there already.
So let me know. I'm curious to see what you think about it, because when I saw that in theaters about a month after as well. And I'm saying it right now. The first thing that I will see opening night back in the theaters will be Ghostbusters 2.
Easily.
I will, or 3, excuse me.
I will be seeing Eternals next week. I don't know if it'll be before or after we broadcast, but I'll be seeing Eternals next week. So
Yeah,
in the,
I
in
will
the
also
theater. My
go
first
see.
return to the theater.
I will also go see Eternals at some point next week. So slowly working our way back to the opening weekend. Getting past the pandemic and getting a little bit back to normal.
I'm going to say this: with all the films coming out right now, all the trailers we have, Ghostbusters Afterlife looks to be the best film coming out.
Agreed.
By far.
Agreed.
So we watched Ghostbusters the other night, right? We watched it for Halloween with my kids.
Nice.
It was good. I haven't seen it in a while. I mean, I've seen it a million times, just haven't seen it in a while. Really good film. Really enjoyed it. So, and then
it stands the test of time.
Well, it makes Afterlife even more. I mean, like we knew, obviously this links back to the original film, but it actually even made me more excited because talk about Goes of the Gozerian and all the stuff behind the scenes, and I'm just excited about it.
What'd your kids think?
Yeah, they thought it was funny. I mean, they're still a little young. So they're old enough not to be too scared. Actually, it was funny because like the Marshmallow Man, it's the Marshmallow Man. They were all excited for that part. They didn't really know what's going on though.
Yeah, a lot of this stuff is probably over their head, but I think
it's Miller time.
Yeah. But I was about 4 or 5 when I first saw Ghostbusters. I think because I also had the advantage of we had the cartoon. Yeah, the cartoon kind of really served as an entryway for me into the Ghostbusters universe. Then I saw the movies and was again
the real Ghostbusters is a very fun cartoon, and with the actual theme song too. So it was a big deal.
Yeah, no, they did a really good job with that. We're sticking with the Marvel universe, though. We got a lot of stuff going on. What's up, Casey? The folks in chat, of course. Darkstroke, Jaden, Gibby, and Red. Everybody here. Got a big crowd tonight here in the live crowd. I'm
glad Casey's here because he's sending me stuff online, and I'm like, I can't look at this right now.
Yeah. And Red says he's going to see Eternals just because it's MCU. Eternals is again part of that big cosmos thing. Like you're going to talk about.
Let me know when I can talk about this because I have a great way of explaining this to people who don't know what it is.
Yeah, no, please, because Eternals, you're talking about like the Celestials and things of that nature. Like,
without this, I won't even go into the canon. This is what I say is that when you got to look at Guardians of the Galaxy, when Guardians of the Galaxy came out, I remember we had a conversation on the show. I said, man, if they don't nail that, it's dangerous because nobody knows who those characters really are for the most part. Yeah, and it's out there. Guardians of the Galaxy was out there, and what they nailed with Guardians, aside from it being really fun. What they nailed with Guardians of the Galaxy was that they were able to expand the MCU into space. Okay. And that was the purpose of Guardians of the Galaxy. We left just Earth and they expanded it into space. Yeah. Okay. And what the Eternals do, and this is how I explain it, Ray, the Eternals take us to the universe. Yeah. Okay. So space is just kind of like, the traveling areas of space of the MCU. The universe is quite bigger. Space, time, and
cosmic beings and things. Right. I mean, we've seen cosmic beings, we've seen Ego, we've seen the Watcher, but Eternals will take all that to the next level.
Basically, the reason you haven't heard the Eternals is because the Eternals are kind of like the Watcher. They can't interfere unless the deviants come back, and I'm guessing the Snap or most likely Loki unleashing the multiverse.
They've already explained that it was actually the return of everybody from what the Avengers did trigger. They said that influx of cosmic energy that allowed everyone to return also opens a portal that allows the deviants to return.
There you go. So the deviants are the anti Eternals, and that's going to probably have bigger implications on the multiverse. We'll see. My point is it's another origin film. Yeah.
Right. Because basically when Tony re-snaps everyone into existence, he doesn't realize he's also re-snapping things. Basically, he was too vague with his wish, and he's re-snapping things that had once been banished by the Eternals.
Yeah, so basically, it's actually a smart way of screwed up everything. He's a horrible character, and he deserves to die.
Wait, he's already dead. He actually dies repeatedly in What If. So
in What If, and I'm sure we'll see him again I believe we will see our DJ in a cameo at some point.
I would imagine probably one of the Spider-Man films, but
that would be cool. I mean, technically, he did show up in the last Spider-Man film as a zombie.
So other thing, a lot of Marvel rumors lately about what they're doing with there's talks about Dracula is going to be the main bad guy in Moon Knight. I think this might just be the meme masters on the internet wishing a little too hard, but it is possible. Moon Knight because they also think that could be the way to introduce Blade into the MCU and do that through the Moon Knight TV show. There's also talks of Modok making an appearance in possibly She-Hulk, and that they're talking to Jim Carrey to play the giant floating head that is known as the mental organism designed only for killing. Lee, any of your thoughts on these rumors? I'm pumped. I think these are all good ideas.
I have no problem with Jim Carrey in any role in any universe. He is one of my favorite all-time actors in every genre that he's acted in. He is the modern Robin Williams. That is the highest praise I can actually give an actor. If he shows up, it's fine. In terms of Dracula, the joke, funny. Look, let's be honest. Vampires come back about every 10 years. They show up about every 10 years. They're around for 5, and then they disappear for 10. How funny is it if Disney and Marvel are the next coming of vampires? Which they probably will be. And like, you guys can look at this. It's funny because Ray, in our lifetime, you go back. So you had Twilight. You go back, you had Underworld.
Yeah.
Right. You go back, you had Buffy.
Yeah.
You go back before that, you had there's another one. I mean, you had the Lost Boys.
Yeah.
And then before that, I think you had Buffy again.
Yeah, you had the film.
Yeah. Then you had Interview with a Vampire. That was that was the early 90s.
I was gonna say Lost Boys, Interview with the Vampire, and the original Buffy film were all around the same time.
That's a 5-year. It's like 85 to 90.
Yeah.
And then Blade really in the late 90s kind of showed up. But that wasn't like the magical romantic ones. But
that wasn't. Yeah, it was really more Blade, less than vampires.
Let me put it this way:
we are due.
We're due for more vampires. It's gonna come, and hopefully they're not whiny, sparkling bitches.
I agree, and I don't think they will be. And actually, speaking of vampires, we also got a brand new Morbius trailer today.
Right.
Of course, for those of you who don't know, Michael Morbius is kind of like an anti-hero. He's been an ally of Spider-Man before, but he's also been hunted. Depending on, basically, he's a brilliant scientist who has a terrible degenerative blood disease, and basically, in a way to find a cure for himself, and the typical mad scientist thing we've actually in the Marvel universe is very common. We've seen it with like the Lizard and other, Doc Ock and other characters where science experiment gone wrong. Morbius basically turns himself into a vampire, or I should say he's somebody who needs to draw the plasma from other people. He's technically not like, and he's also fought Blade many times, and like they've basically come to an agreement that he's not a true vampire, but that he's kind of like a mutant in a way, or a mutate. But that he basically makes the compromise that, kind of like the Punisher, he only feeds on the dregs of the evils of society, right? Like thieves and murderers.
He's an anti-hero. He's the best type
things of that nature. So. Yes. So and Jared Leto is playing him, and I'm actually interested to. I'm actually kind of interested in this one now. Although I know some folks are already hating on the fact that Tyrese is in the film, and like Marvel, and so look, I'm sure the casting will be fine for all of this. The question is going to be, the cops are hunting him. Obviously, a government agency is hunting him. How is this going to tie into the larger Spider-Verse? We know Vulture is in this. Michael Keaton comes back and reprises his role as Vulture. How big a role is he going to be? Is that going to be, which basically now that's what Michael Keaton does now, is reprise his superhero and supervillain roles. He's obviously more than that, folks. Obviously one of my favorite actors.
When's Beetlejuice 2 coming out?
Yeah, probably never. But is that going to be? Is Morbius going to be part? And now that we've had Venom teased as being part of the Spider-Verse, the Tom Holland verse. Is Morbius like? Are these going to be guys going to join the Sinister Six? Yes. Are they going to be? Yeah, probably. I mean, but that's the thing. You have so many villains. You have Sandman. You have Doc Ock. You have Lizard, Electro.
Well, I think in Spider-Verse we're going to get an answer to the question you're asking, and Morbius might not be in. He might be on the other side of that. So, look, the real funny thing about this film. Is of what you said, and this is where I get really geeky, is that you have Jared Leto playing Morbius, a crossover of the Joker from the DCU into the MCU, meeting Michael Keaton, who will be jumping from the MCU back to the DCU to play Batman once again. Is there no end to the madness, Ray, of actors jumping back and forth? Actually, look, very few actors jump from MCU to DCU. So Michael Keaton obviously gets a free pass because he launched the DCU. He is the Iron Man of the DCU, if you really think about it. And they're treating him like that, if you think about that in Flashpoint. So I'm looking forward to Morbius. More Marvel films, the better. I will say this though, I'm way more excited for Star Wars season than I am for Marvel at the moment. But how awesome is it? We live in a time with like it's gonna be just endless entertainment for 6 months.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's awesome. The thing. Even with the delays that Disney had, delaying every 3 months next year, it's like fine because like Morbius drops end of January, right? Like, so you're gonna have Spider-Man in December, you have Morbius in January, then you have a 4-month hiatus for Marvel and Spider-Man, all this other stuff. Like you said, we're gonna have Loki season 2, Hawkeye, Book of Boba Fett, Mandalorian. Jesse mentions Ahsoka, Cobra Kai. Like, Obi-Wan.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't end. It's like,
yeah,
dude, it's like a geek dream.
Yeah. I mean, in case he mentions, what if they did a crossover? They could. DC would probably never agree to it because that's DC, but there used to be, I remember growing up, there wasn't the comics. Justice League met the Avengers. Like that's happened before. Like,
listen, again, we've said this before on the show, the fundamental difference between the MCU and the DC, or just DC and Marvel. Marvel is humans trying to be gods. DC is gods trying to be human. That has always been the big difference. Now, I would be all for a DC MCU crossover if Batman can join the MCU.
Yeah.
I would totally be fine with that because he'd be like the greatest superhero of all time.
And then he becomes Spider-Man's new mentor.
yeah. I mean, he's better than, look, if Tony Stark versus Bruce Wayne, 10 out of 10 times.
Yeah.
Now people who watch the movies are like, I love Tony Stark. You love Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah.
All right. Tony Stark's a dick. Let's be honest with that, all right? Robert Downey Jr. is awesome.
Yeah.
Bruce Wayne, Batman, far superior character in my mind than Iron Man. Okay.
Yeah.
But I will always applaud Disney and MCU for making Iron Man what he was in that universe.
Yeah. And as the focal point and really making that character who had always really, for many years, had been a B tier character. I mean, he started to turn up leading up into the movies too, but he was,
Civil War though.
Yeah.
So again, little brief history in the comic book Civil War. Iron Man is on the unmasking side. Again, Civil War in the comics totally different than the movie, where there was basically a kind of the Mutant Registration Act type deal, and that they wanted to unmask all the superheroes.
Yes.
All right. So Iron Man actually convinces Spider-Man to do it, which leads to one of the dumbest, things ever to happen in comics. But the point is this: is that Iron Man actually ends up getting Cap killed, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
All right. And he was never before these movies, right? Iron Man was always kind of an a-hole. Like that, he served a greater purpose, but he was always kind of an a-hole. He wasn't a likable character. Not like Batman, right? So I'm saying if you're asking me Batman or Iron Man, it's 10 out of 10 times it's Batman. Comic book wise. Like overall, if we're talking film wise, that's a little bit of a different conversation.
Well, yeah, just because there's also been so many Batman, many Batman.
If it's Michael Keaton versus RDJ, which is the top two, that's actually not as easy to answer.
No,
as I think it sounds. So
no, I agree.
I think my heart goes, oh, it's Michael Keaton, and then you think about it, it's like, really, okay, Ray's ready to move on.
Yeah, so so we're talking about the Marvel Universe. Another obviously big person in the Marvel Universe is Chris Pratt playing, of course, Star-Lord. And the internet exploded this week because not only is he's now Super Mario in the Mario Brothers film, but he is now playing another beloved character from many people's childhoods,
Super Mario. And then another
yes, he's playing Garfield the cat in another movie that I do not know why we need another Garfield.
This is a mistake. There was only one actor alive that should be casted as Garfield, and if they did not ask this person, it's a mistake.
Lee, what do you think? Who?
It's Bill Murray. There's only one person that can play Garfield, and it's Bill Murray.
Well, and he played him in the original film, the original 3D films that they did a couple of years.
Why would you not bring him back? He sounds like Garfield. He acts like Garfield. He is Garfield.
I don't know.
I love Chris Pratt. I really do. I don't know.
He's got the best. I'm gonna say he's got the best agent in Hollywood because dude is getting
He's getting everything. He's getting everything.
Yeah. No, but honestly,
Bill Murray though was a great Garfield.
Yes, and the thing is that the thing you have to watch out for now is I get striking while the iron is hot, but as you saw by the internet blowback, you could start to get fatigue of an actor as well.
Right, it's happened.
So, yes, it has happened.
Yeah,
and so good for Chris Pratt. But that was an interesting story.
I'm surprised they're bringing back Garfield. I mean, like,
well, that's the other thing too. Is like, what do we really need another Garfield film?
It's Sonic's fault. Like Sonic did so well,
right?
That they're like, oh, we can bring back all these characters.
If we do it right,
yeah. They're not going to do it all right.
No, I agree. Speaking of things not going right, Sony had a state of play this week, where they announced a bunch of third-party games. Folks, I didn't take a single note on this thing. It was 20 minutes of boredom. It was, and I also understand because a lot of folks who are saying, well, Sony's going to save their big guns for the Game Awards in December, and I hope they're right. And I think that because honestly, this was a waste of time, these 20 minutes. And people are like, oh, it's good to show off smaller games. And I'm like, yeah, but are these really games that we needed to see? Did we really need to see a Bug Snacks DLC? Did we really need to see like a new Star Ocean that looked like the game was like 10 years too late? Like it looked old. The game looks old. Did we need a, Let It Die spinoff? I don't know. Like these are all niche games to begin with.
I know. Oh, we got more consoles. I saw a line at the GameStop the other day because they got more PlayStations in.
Yeah. PlayStation's still dealing with the shortage.
There's a line down the street. And it's just,
yeah.
What Sony, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Focus.
Yeah. Right. Focus.
You got to get your console in people's hands.
Right.
Not telling them about the weird Japanese niche titles that you're bringing over.
No, but it'll be good. Why? Yeah. That's what I feel like they're doing. Again, we've said it many times on the show. Sony is very much like the WWE right now. Clueless.
Yeah.
They have no
we'll get
answers.
into a little bit of wrestling later, but no
answers.
Yeah, it again. I hope that they have something big planned for the Game Awards. It's going to be great to see that the fact that the Game Awards are coming back in person, obviously after a hiatus the past couple after last year. But the Game Awards are also is usually, in my opinion, a very bloated show.
Yeah, it's a pay to play show. Let's be honest about it.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what it is.
It's like the Oscars. Does your film have a social conscience? You've won an Oscar.
Yeah.
That's basically what happens in those now. No, but we made a really good film, though. Yeah, you didn't quite make the cut.
The Oscar voting is as questionable as the Game Awards voting. I'll say
they lost me when Leonardo DiCaprio didn't win Best Actor for Wolf of Wall Street. It's one of the greatest performances I've ever seen, and it was just like, you got it. Then he won for fighting a bear.
Yeah, I just don't. Well, but that's the thing. Again, to go into it, folks, is because that's Hollywood. Because to a bunch of Hollywood wussies, they're like, "Oh my God, that's so impressive! He fought a bear doing cocaine off a woman's butt. That's every day in Hollywood."
Yeah, it's too real.
So,
and the bear thing was, but it has an environmental meaning behind it. So you get an Oscar for that. I'm gonna say this again. Wolf of Wall Street was one of the single greatest performances I've ever seen in my life. Right. Like the only other controversial Oscar I've ever said this, Ray, is that 1994 Forrest Gump won Best Picture. And I said that, Shawshank Redemption came out that year as well. It was an impossible pick, right? They picked Forrest Gump because it felt better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like Shawshank Redemption is also one of the greatest films of that decade. It just happened to come out.
Oh, for sure. It just, and that happens sometimes. And like you said, and sometimes you'll have an impossible decision, and that allows a third pick to sneak in and steal the Oscar. We've seen that before as well.
There's other things too. So anyway, I haven't watched the Oscars in years, and I really don't care their opinion anymore. I used to say I have to watch whatever the best picture is. That stopped. Actually, Jesse and Chat saying Return of the King is probably the last one. And I remember they gave him the Oscar for Return of the King. Well, this is really for all three movies. No, that's not how it works. You could have given all three of those movies an Oscar if they were that good. Return of the King was excellent.
Yeah, I mean, even that, and it's like there's so many make goods at the Oscars. It's
crap.
It's like Scorsese. I forget what I think he won for The Departed, which was fine, but that was to me that's not Scorsese's best film.
No, it was amazing. Definitely,
yeah, it was very good. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
but like
no, he's had other ones.
I feel like that, like, and especially that year, I remember everyone saying that was a make good for snubbing him in years past.
Right. You know what the best reward show is, Ray? If you're gonna really listen to get reviews on something,
what?
It's Geeks Who Like Sports. The show I listen to. I listen to it while it's live every single week for 130 weeks in a row.
Yes. Yeah. Like, you want a review now? I'm going to tell you right. NHL 22 sucks. That's our next.
Yeah, there we go. I love it.
So Sony sucks. The Oscars suck. NHL 22 sucks.
Yes.
I mean, it's not broken, right? It's not broken, but it's another mailed-in effort. The big thing this year is they increased. The graphics are much better. Obviously, going from last gen to current gen.
Right.
But they're like, oh, we added X factors, which to me, playing the game, do nothing. They do nothing except for giving me a fancy schmancy graphic after, a sniper gets a goal, or a playmaker makes a tape to tape pass, and I get a fancy extra little graphic next to the goal replay. It was a very disappointing effort once again from NHL 22. We've talked about this, how they mailed in every mode again this year. I still would rather play it than Madden, which I hear is absolutely atrocious this year. And I refuse. Some folks actually here in chat on previous nights like, why don't you play Madden? Why don't you play Madden? I'll say this again, folks. There's a donate button on my Twitch page. If you want, I will play Madden for free, but I'm not spending my hard-earned money on a game that is I've heard is the most broken Madden in years. At least NHL is not broken, but it's just more of the same. So yeah, if I was scoring it, it would probably be a 6.5 out of 10.
Wow.
Because it's not broken, but it's just whatever.
Yeah. Like, we've had this conversation, actually, it seems like we have this conversation 2 years in a row on the show. I used to buy NHL every year, and it just lost its way. For those of you wondering, it is nothing like real hockey, nothing like it. That was one of my biggest frustrations. Ray and I talked for years before the show. And you come to the conclusion that it's a video game. So you beat it like playing it like it's a video game. It doesn't feel like real hockey. And like I said, I don't like to rip all the modes. I get why they do some of this stuff. Some of it's kind of cool. I get how they worried about microtransactions. But what are we doing? What are we doing here? You know what I mean? No advancement. I mean, again, Ray and I were talking a couple of days ago. The NHL franchise used to win Game of the Year every year. I mean, it was like something like 6, 7, 8 years in a row.
Yeah, sports it was always the sports Game of the Year. Right? There's like a 5-year period there. We're just penciling NHL. Honestly,
it's so it's tough to explain. Maybe I'm just from a different era of hockey, Ray. But it's like when they show the trailers now. When I was growing up, the trailers were all like the majesty of hockey and hard hitting and, are you willing to donate your body? That was the attitude. That's NHL 98 for those of you who want to know. And now it's like, check out this branded merch and the off-ice clothes that you can get at a local CCM dealership, because now we're bringing real clothes into the game. So dress out your player, build your arena, and man, buy more stuff. That's what it feels like I'm watching. I'm like, what happened to the hockey?
Yeah. Well, and especially in the online modes, which is where a lot of that stuff is like, if you're not playing the game from day one on the online mode, don't bother.
Yeah.
Because there's so many people now who have gotten to a certain point through microtransactions. And to be fair, also the grind. Like, I tried to play an online game the other day, and because his players were all probably bought, they were 10 points higher. My team was an overall 84, which isn't bad, but his was like a 91. And it's just like, there's no point in me playing this game.
Things too, like they put the Michigan goal in there last year.
Yeah,
it's like I was watching some highlights. It's like, kid does the Michigan goal like 6 times.
All he does it over and over again. Yeah.
What the hell is this? Like,
I will say that the glitchy goals are less this year. They still exist, but they're not as bad. But again, when that's your major improvement, you have a problem.
Yeah. I don't know. I just again, maybe a little more old school. I might admit that. Like, again, look, I'll be honest with you. If the kids are having fun with it, that's great. I mean that. All right. If you're a kid and you're having fun with it, but Man, I played that game because I loved hockey. I really did.
Yeah.
And it's so far beyond that now. I don't know what
Yeah.
to say. I did enjoy watching you build your own team from Delaware on there, though. Right? That was fun.
Thank you. I mean, look, there are some good aspects. Again, it's not broken. I still enjoy doing play-by-play with it. Like, obviously, come back tomorrow night for those of you who are live, twitch.tv/Ray Carcel, 7 p.m. Monday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays for the winter. We'll be probably playing hockey. That might change, keeping an eye on the schedule. But no, I mean, I'll say that I do enjoy playing my franchise, but it really feels like, I mean, I at least I get to get the game on sale at least, but like it's not a $70 title anymore. It's just not.
No, it should be free on Game Pass.
Yeah.
Is what it should
be. I mean, and it will be, but that's the thing. It should be free from day one, like MLB The Show did. Anyway, so NHL is dying. Now we'll go to something that's dead. PAX South. For those of you who aren't aware, this was a convention that was PAX at its peak. Was you had PAX East in Boston, PAX Prime in Seattle. They had PAX Australia in get this, Australia.
What?
They had PAX Unplug in Philly. They had PAX South in San Antonio, Texas. But they've announced, especially it was a rough time of year. It was in January, which the video game industry is just kind of starting to get back out from its hibernation over the holidays. Because the video game industry, like most of Hollywood, really go after Thanksgiving. It's party, and then you don't hear anything from anybody for a month.
Right.
PAX South is now literally unplugged, as that has been done. And honestly, from what I had heard, it was probably the weakest of the PAX conventions. Anyway, a lot of vendors typically didn't go because, again, the video game. Now that we are getting back to somewhat normal and we are starting to do conventions again. PAX South was always a convention that a lot of vendors passed on because it was the calendar year is already full for video game conventions. We've got plenty. Yeah. And so that, rest in peace, PAX South. I think you're only lasted 3 or 4 years. I never went to one. I hear Texas is lovely. I've only been once, but yeah, sorry if you're a PAX South fan, and sorry for everybody in Texas who probably went there. So,
well, look at the bright side. Now you get to go to Seattle or Philadelphia or Boston.
Yeah, and again, honestly, sometimes I think the idea of less conventions is good because it makes the conventions that are still around more impactful. Right. So, speaking of impact, this is a big deal. I don't know if we're calling it meta yet, but Facebook gaming has surpassed YouTube. This is a big deal. Twitch still has the lion's share of streamers. 70% of game streams occur on Twitch. But now Facebook is approaching 20% of that, and YouTube's share is in the low teens. So Facebook has surpassed YouTube now in terms of streamer hours for gamers. And that's a big deal because obviously, obviously they're competing for ad dollars and for advertisers and money and whatnot. And yeah, so that is a big deal. And just quickly to answer the question and for Jesse in chat, yes, E3 is still a thing. It is a big thing. It hasn't been the past 2 years. They moved it to like an online series of streams because obviously of the pandemic. But E3, at least at this moment, will be back next year for better or for worse, depending on how you feel about that. But Comic-Con will be back next year. Most of the conventions that you know and love should be back next year. Just to wrap up that topic, but yeah, just wanted to answer that question again, chat. But yeah, big deal. Facebook gaming has surpassed YouTube gaming. I think this is partially the fact that folks don't think of, at least I don't think of going to YouTube to watch live streams of games. I'll watch gaming videos, walkthroughs, and things after the fact. But in terms of live streaming games, Twitch is obviously still the place, and Facebook is definitely making a dent in that.
Well, Facebook did a better job of marketing this. So when you go to YouTube, sometimes the suggestions are not going to be to do that. Facebook, Meta, whatever you want to call it, clearly put gaming at the forefront of your news feed and at the bottom of your the buttons at the bottom. Gaming is always there. Right. Not to mention, they know your behavior. So if you're a gaming fan, they're going to throw games right in front of you. They know your age. They know what you're doing. So it's great. Ray, we talked about that too for a while. I still think you should be on Facebook gaming. but you'll get there. But yeah, Facebook is making a major change, and what they launched this week is a very, very big deal. It is a very big deal that I don't think people are teasing them about it, and I go, man, they are going for it. That's a big deal. The metaverse coming.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, no, it is gonna be a big deal, and it's gonna be interesting to see how things continue. Yeah, I tried the Facebook thing, and it wasn't my thing, but that's just me. And I didn't feel like sticking with it at the time. So again, for me, at least thus far, most of my success has been on Twitch and TikTok.
Well, we're on Twitch right now.
That's what I'm saying.
But if you're watching this on replay, you're watching on Facebook.
Oh,
dun, dun, dun.
So
yeah. Unless you're watching the replay on Twitch, in which case we appreciate all of you.
Yeah. And Nred asks, why not do both? Because you can't do it's very hard. You need like a bunch of workarounds to do a Twitch, something that's Twitch, to stream something simultaneously to Twitch and to Facebook. And Jesse, there's only so many hours in the day.
He knows.
Yeah. Yeah. So because a couple of folks had asked me that, and we did try. And it was just, it just was very, very, we couldn't get it to work on both at the same time. And I tried the Facebook thing on weekends. It didn't work. And it just, it just didn't work. So actually, that's actually interesting. Our baseball fans have started to pop up into chat now. And we're going to move on now from the geek section of the show into baseball. Yes, and into sports. Folks are already talking about free agency because folks are already ready to crown the Braves the World Series champion. They're up 6-0 in the bottom of the sixth in Houston. Obviously, as we're doing this, they're up 3-2 in the series. If they hold on tonight, they will be your World Series champions. It will be their fourth in their history. They're second in Atlanta. Odoms asked this, do you think Trevor Story will stay in Colorado? Odoms, I don't really care about Trevor Story. I don't know. Seriously, I don't know. Everybody keeps asking about what's going to happen in free agency. I don't know, guys.
I better hope there's a season next year right now.
That's the thing. At this point, I'm more worried about the collective bargaining agreement going belly up in a month than I am about free agency.
I actually think, Ray, a labor stoppage would be the best thing that can happen in baseball right now. I'm not going to lie to you. The more I think about it, the more I think that's the best thing that could possibly happen. It's going the wrong direction.
Well, I mean, it definitely doesn't. It's definitely sending conflicting messages all around. And we just mentioned the World Series. This was a fun one. So after pissing off all of Atlanta and moving the All-Star game to and Odom, by the way, it's not a big deal. You don't have to apologize, man. It's perfectly fine. The free agency stuff. Yeah, like it's all good, man. Like I don't know if the Yankees are going to get Corey Seager, if they're going to hold on to Torres. Like I just don't know. Like it's way too early to like worry about free agency. And Andrew, again, the reason why to get to everybody up again, for those of you who don't know, baseball and their players union are too close. And there's going to probably be a strike starting in December. They've already said that the players union and Major League, the owners are miles apart. The labor agreement expires in less than 30 days. If there is no agreement in place come February, there is a very good chance there will be a truncated season or no season next year. So if the collective bargaining agreement is not struck within the next 4 months, which right now, as of November 2nd, 2021, 7:32 p.m., as we are recording Geeks Who Like Sports episode 130, baseball is not going to be happening next year. That is the state of things at the moment. That said, part of the reason is baseball's ridiculously terrible commissioner. Rob Manfred, probably the worst commissioner, not just in sports, but sports of all time. After taking the All-Star game away from Atlanta, robbing these folks of the opportunity to host the All-Star game and to continue an important discussion in this country about voting rights, he just yanked it out of there. And has now come out this week. Despite, of course, indigenous peoples being against the name the Atlanta Braves and against the infamous chop. Of course, for those of you who don't know, the chop has been one of the most prominent taunts in sports my whole life, for sure, and probably before that. And baseball said the chop. Manfred specifically said, we stand by Atlanta's right to use the chop and to use the Braves name, despite it being terribly unpopular. with indigenous peoples. And so after being super quote unquote woke and moving the All-Star game, they've done a complete 180 and are now unwoke by saying to keep the chop and to keep the name the Braves. Lee, I'm confused. Even just saying it has left me left in circles. Andrew, Google the chop. I'm not going to do it on air.
Now you understand that baseball is beyond saving. It must be allowed to die.
Yeah.
Ra's al Ghul. I am the Ra's al Ghul of this situation.
Yeah.
Look, few things on this. Number one, yes, if you don't know what the chop is, the Atlanta Braves chop, look it up. All right, it's a very famous motion.
Right.
Like most things, everybody has an opinion on this, and the only
Yes.
opinion that actually matters is that of the Native American First Nations people, which we conveniently, Ray, you did mention this, but we conveniently just ignore that fact, and nobody seems to care what they think, even though they're the ones who actually are affected by it. So that's the first thing that I'd like to see. And Ray, you did say some people are against it, some people are for it. I would like to let that community educate me on what is and what is not appropriate when it comes to indigenous people. That's number one.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not for me as a white man to even have a thought on that.
Agreed.
just to say the least. All right. Because I've seen that argument go several different directions. Again, the great example is in North Dakota, the Fighting Sioux, their university. Yes. They removed that name, and Sioux Nation was not happy about it. They thought that they were fairly represented by that school. At least this is what I've read. And that by removing that name, they've actually removed them from history now, even worse. That's number one. Number two, sports, grandstanding political issues has been commonplace now for the last 5 or 6 years. I do not believe that, I don't want to say this too harsh, I do not believe that their interest in the social issue is really what makes them do it. I believe it's financially based, fan based, and excuse me, it's a slippery slope to do this. So if Manfred or MLB's proven anything, it's that they really didn't care about what was going on in Georgia when they moved the All-Star game out of there. They were just fighting social pressure. They have no desire to really make a change on anything. And I kind of knew that. Like, that's not a big surprise to me. But this is what happens when you pick a side in a very controversial debate that really is, unfortunately, a 50-50 type debate. You're going to piss off half the people or half of your fans. All right. I'm not even talking about which side of that I feel like I'm on or anything like that. And I've said this before. I am completely in favor of free speech. I'm completely in favor of our Constitution, and I'm completely in favor of athletes and sporting leaders voicing their opinion. However, you probably shouldn't. I say that, it seems like I say that every week. You have a right to voice your opinion. You probably shouldn't. I'll quote Ricky Gervais. We're going back to actors. He said it best. You are in no position to lecture the public. You are in no position to lecture the common man and woman on the plight of being a common man or woman. You do not live on planet Earth with the rest of them. So shut up, thank your agent, and be on the way. It works in both worlds. So yes, I'm not surprised by this. I'm going to say it again, that if people really care about this issue, if you're really bothered by the chop, or you're really for the chop, but you have no care what the indigenous First Nation or Native Americans feel, I don't really care about your opinion on that. That's my personal opinion. That's my free speech. I don't really want to hear your opinion.
Right.
All right. It's not the one that matters to me. The end. Thank you. Drop of the mic.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that sums it up. No matter what the issue, I'm pro Indigenous peoples and their opinions, and I'm pro voting rights, and I'm pro all of this, and I'm pro that kind of stuff. So
No,
so,
and again,
common sense.
I'll be fair too. I don't even know their stance on this because no one's reported it, and unfortunately, I don't live in Atlanta, and I don't have a connection to the Native American people down there. But like, if the media really cared, that's the first place they'd go. And they don't care because they want to keep that narrative going as long as possible. And anything to divide us, that's just crap. Thank you, baseball, once again, for knocking another home run in mediocrity in sport. I hope you strike. It's not because I don't want baseball. For those of you listening, I want baseball to strike because I think it's what they need right now to get their head back on straight. All right. And I can give you an example of another league that did that at the right time and completely saved their sport. Baseball needs some major changes right now. They are not going down the right path. Okay. And I think that a work stoppage actually would be good for the game. I know, Ray, I'll say this. I know how painful that will be for you fans. I really do know. I've lived it multiple times. I really know it.
So have we. So baseball fans back in '94.
Some of you old enough will remember, but it's been a lot longer for baseball than it has been for hockey. And I'm just saying that sometimes that type of work stoppage can be good. Yeah, the '94 stoppage was rough.
Yeah. Okay. The problem is much like Seeley messed up the work stoppage in '94. I have no faith in Manfred being able to navigate these waters.
I have no faith in him doing it without it. So either way, to me, this
baseball's screwed.
Well, if there's a work stoppage, they might everyone's gonna have to stop and really think. And I think the thing is the money's rolling in right now, Ray, and I don't think they care. But when the money stops, that really changes the conversation.
Yeah. Well, there you go. So if there is baseball next year, our last story we're going to talk about, this was interesting. It sounds like the A's may stay in Oakland after all. Oh. It sounds like the approvals for a new baseball-centric stadium in Oakland, the proposals have been sent that the city of Oakland sounds like they are ready to approve the financials. This still has a long way to go.
A hard bargain.
But this is the first time that the two sides, which is the Oakland ownership and, of course, the town of Oakland, seem to have taken a step towards each other instead of away from each other. So definitely that is a good sign. One of the few good signs of things in baseball. But again, hey, if there's no baseball next year, it might not matter.
Yep.
So there's that. Moving on now into the there's another stupid baseball story, but I'm not even going to give it the time of day. Moving on to the football. NFL Week 8. The trade deadline has come and gone. Some big moves. Some Von Miller, the big one of the Denver Broncos, of course. Pro Bowl, linebacker / defensive end, pass rush specialist, really going to help out one of the most stout defenses in the NFL. But he goes, the Rams send their second and third round pick. The Rams might not have a pick in the draft now until round 4 or possibly the supplementary draft of the third round. So you're looking, the Rams might not have a draft pick until like pick 140. Wow. They're in win now mode. There's no doubt about it. The Stafford trade, the Von Miller trade, this is the Rams are going for it. They're like, we have a 1 to 2 year window to get a Super Bowl to Los Angeles. This is our chance. And God knows I'm rooting against them. I think this just because this is gone again, this goes against traditional football, in my opinion, right? The trades have only really become a big thing in football in recent years since they extended the trade deadline to the midway point of the season, which never had originally. For folks who are older, remember the trade deadline used to be week 5 or week 6, and by then a lot of teams didn't know what they might have needed or not. So now you're actually seeing moves at the trade deadline, not quite like baseball's trade deadline, but more moves than we'd ever seen before the last few years. I think, though, that this is, in a way, it's kind of Yankee-ish for the Rams to kind of do what they're doing. And it kind of feels like, oh, well, the shoe's on the other foot. This does kind of suck. I'm not gonna lie.
Coming out of your mouth there.
Yeah, I know, right? Like, wow, this is I understand now. I mean, look, I'm not gonna lie. I think also it would, the better story for, also, I hate it when LA wins anything because the celebrations always result in a part of the city getting blown up. And I fear for my own safety. So I always root against Los Angeles in every sport for the hopes of surviving till the next season. So I don't know what would happen. Then again, there's not many Rams fans left here in LA. Most of them moved on a long time ago when the team left for St. Louis. So I don't know if there's not much to fear here, but I will say this. To me, the Bucks, the Cardinals, who already beat the Rams, even with the addition of Von Miller, I still don't see the Rams now are top three favorite to represent the NFC. Obviously, it's the Rams, the Bucks, and the Cardinals. Those are the three best teams in the conference. Cowboys are probably fourth. Packers fifth. Those are your top five if you want to go that far. And then honestly, the 6 and 7 seed don't matter. I don't care who it is. No, yeah. Even if the Saints somehow with Jameis Winston blowing out his knee this week, even if the Saints limp into the playoffs and I don't know, the Bears or the Niners, one of those other teams get the 7 seed, they're not going to do anything. It's the Bucks, the Cardinals, and definitely now the Rams. Lee, what are your thoughts on this trade? What are your thoughts on the Rams, who again have basically mortgaged their future again for the hopes to try and keep this window open for another year or two? Is this the move that makes the Rams the eventual Super Bowl champion this year, or is it gonna burn them?
I mean, Ray, it's a really hard question to answer right now at this point of the season. I mean, they had to do something to be able to compete to the level they want to be able to compete at, or they're just going to be treading water. Mm-hmm. I think that there's a lot of merit in trying like this. I'm not a big fan of giving up your future, but if they think they can win now, then this is the time to do it. You know, look, it's kind of like, I'm trying to think of other examples. Teams that have done this and won. You know, you might get really pissed off at the team a few years later, but in the moment you can say, hey man, they had the guts to go for it. So right. I don't know if one move's ever going to be that, but we'll see for it. I mean, we'll see. Like I said, I think it makes it more interesting NFL. I think it hurts the parity of the league, but it does make for better football towards the playoffs.
For sure. And it'll be interesting. And then of course, if they do even make the Super Bowl, they'll have to face the eventual AFC winner, who this year, again, it's very wide open. The Bills are starting to look like the team that's going to probably pull away. They look to be at this moment the hands down favorite. The Chargers lost a tough one this week. The Chiefs limped to 500. The Browns lost a heartbreaker to Pittsburgh, so they're both 500 now. The Bengals got upset by the Jets. There's a to me. Here's a fun question. Is there a quarterback controversy now for the Jets after Mike White comes in as the first quarterback since 1950 in his first career start to have 400 yards and 3 touchdowns in his first career start?
The answer is yes, because it's the Jets.
I mean, folks have been saying this is the first time I really watched the Jets game this year. Folks have been telling me that Zach Wilson did not look good. It wasn't just the offensive line. And Mike White might have proved those folks right this week.
I'm just saying, if there's a controversy to be had on the Jets, it's going to happen. So, yes.
So, there you go. So, the Jets might have a QB controversy. Zach Wilson, top draft pick of the Jets, might already be out of a job. We'll see what happens. I mean, obviously, Mike White's going to get probably another start just because
you have to give him a start after that.
I mean, Wilson's still hurt, right?
You know,
so,
Like,
you're going to start Joe Flacco over this kid?
Well, no. It's like, look. Here's the deal: is you got to look at that situation. This is the Carson Wentz, Nick Foles situation again. Nick Foles won the Super Bowl, and he knew he wouldn't be starting the next season because Wentz was the guy at that time, right? Yeah. And we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, no, it is going to be interesting to see. And it was an interesting week. Speaking of Carson Wentz, the Colts lost again to the Titans, and Wentz kept them in it, but he also kind of gave the game away. A terrible pick 6 deep in his own territory. He continues to show flashes, but he's never been what he once was before that one bad injury in Philly. Right. The Titans, though, speaking of bad injuries, lose Derrick Henry for the year. The NFL's leading rusher has been an absolute beast the last 2 years. The Titans might win that division just because with the Colts, the Jaguars, and the Texans having combined 5 wins, the Titans having already 6, the Titans might cruise to a division title there. But without Derrick Henry to take the workload off of Ryan Tannehill, I don't see the Titans going far in the playoffs. The West is up for grabs. The North is up for grabs. The Bills look like the team that's going to be the team to beat in the AFC. I think they're going to cruise to another division title. And I think that I'm going to say it right now. Bills versus Cardinals. That's my Super Bowl prediction at this point in the season.
Man, at least
A
half of
Super
those
Bowl
teams.
nobody wants to see,
Yeah, I was
but
gonna
that's
say,
probably what's going to happen.
I mean, Bills would have been a pick before the season. I don't think anybody's picking the Cardinals, but we'll see, man. You can't sleep on the Bucks. You just can't.
Yeah,
So
that's
we'll see
fair.
what happens.
That's fair. Even though both those teams, the Bucks and the Cardinals, a couple of hard luck losses this week. Tom Brady, for whatever reason, struggles to beat the Saints in the regular season. He's now with Tampa Bay. He's now 1-3 against New Orleans. But the one, of course, came in the playoffs last year. So if you're going to beat them, that's the time to beat them.
Dude, it's Tom Brady's league till it's not.
Yeah. So there you go. And of course, your Eagles destroyed the pitiful
Lions. Destroyed a team that has no wins.
Yes. And again, I mentioned before, the Chiefs limped to 500, and I say that because they barely beat my banged up Giants. But again, the Giants, I don't care how banged up we are. The Giants could have won that game. Giants should have won that game. But Daniel Jones continues to be a disaster, continues to throw terrible interceptions, much like Carson Wentz in Indianapolis.
You think Daniel Jones talks to Eli Manning ever?
I mean, maybe. I mean, Eli works at Giant Stadium now. So MetLife. Eli works.
The best thing
now.
Eli Manning is doing right now is Monday Night Football.
Yeah, him and the Manning brothers.
Unbelievably funny.
It's hysterical. Absolutely hysterical. I love it. Like their real life reactions too. Like Peyton was like so distraught after that terrible interception of
he really
Mahomes.
was. He really was.
Like, because he's like, I've been there. I know how you feel, young man.
Yeah. No, I also enjoyed Peyton eating his pizza or chicken in about 4 seconds at halftime. It was fun. The camera's rolling all the time on those two.
Yeah, that's how I do it though too. I just shove it down. It's just yeah. I unhinge my jaw and just insert the entire pizza.
I've seen you turn into that snake before.
Yeah. So the Giants season is over. They're 2-6. I'm sorry, folks. There's just the team's not good enough. This was their last gasp, maybe. Oh, and again, we mentioned this earlier. Daniel Jones now has set the record for the most consecutive losses as to start a career in primetime football games. He is trash. I do not know how many times I need to keep saying this. Stop calling him Danny Dimes because he doesn't throw dimes to anybody. He's Danny Dumpster Fire.
No,
he is
trash. Time to get a new quarterback in New York.
I agree. Maybe Mike White will be available.
It'd be funny if the Jets have 2.
And the Giants have none. Speaking of folks having none, this was a very interesting story for your wrestling fans out there. Of course, one of the last really major indie promotions, right? If the big 2 is WWE and now AEW, you've got Impact as a kind of a smaller one, but Ring of Honor has announced that they are going to be taking a quote unquote hiatus starting in the 2022 for 3 months to rebrand and reimagine their product. But the fear is that every wrestler, since every wrestler contract is expiring, that this will not happen and that the product will go bye-bye. This is a big deal. Ring of Honor for many, many years was where a lot of our favorite wrestlers got their starts. Guys like CM Punk, of course, is the one that comes to mind first off. If Ring of Honor has gone belly up, if Sinclair Broadcasting that owns them has pulled the plug on them, because they've already pulled them from their primetime slot. Right. I think this is a big hole in the wrestling world, and I don't know how it's going to get filled. It might be a chance for Impact and a couple others to rise up, but this kind of actually worryingly reminds me of when WWE kind of bought up a lot of folks, but for all the wrong reasons. Obviously, Ring of Honor was hit very hard by the pandemic, like a lot of wrestling outlets. And I hope that it is just a 3-month hiatus. Everybody in the wrestling community hopes it's just a 3-month hiatus, but I don't think it's going to be. I think this is the end of Ring of Honor, honestly.
Well, if it is, maybe somebody else buys it up. We've seen that before.
Yes.
Somebody swoops in to save the day or to what's it called? Bring it in. So we'll see. Like you said, that's one of those things you got to wait and see.
Yeah. So there is
the XFL took a 3-year hiatus.
Wow, that's true. That is true too.
The worst luck of all time.
Yeah. Well, that's happened to a lot of us, unfortunately. No convenient time for a pandemic, really.
Well, yes, I agree.
At least not a 2-year pandemic. Maybe a 2-month pandemic.
It's almost an endemic now.
Almost.
It's a big word for a lot of you. You can look that one up.
Yeah. Oh, that actually, and that yeah, part of it is true. I guess that's big news. We're not going to get into it because it's not usually our thing, but it was approved today. 5 to 11-year-olds can get the vaccine now. That is a big deal.
There you go.
So that broke on my phone about 2 hours before we started broadcasting.
The beginning of the end for COVID.
Fingers crossed.
Piece of beep.
Yeah. So, speaking of the end of things, going back, it's been a dark episode. A lot of endings. A lot of endings today.
In a world where Ray Carcillo is a positive person, Lee, his pessimistic friend, will have to find a way to navigate through the waters of happiness. Ray Carcillo, Lee Elias in This Will Never Happen.
Yeah. No, typically, but this is a sad story. We're moving on to hockey now. And unfortunately, instead of talking about scores and teams and how both our teams are actually doing very well at the moment, at least record wise.
They are.
This terrible story. The sexual abuse scandal that happened in Chicago 10 years ago has come fully to light. Former player Kyle Beach has come out as the John Doe who filed the suit. Of course, Chicago fired their GM for this, and former Chicago coach Quenneville, who was down in Florida, was fired over this, and rightfully so. These guys will probably never work in hockey again. Just a terrible.
They should not ever work in hockey. Yeah.
Right, they should not, and it just a terrible story and how horrible that Kyle Beach had to go through this, but hopefully his story and his pain prevents this from happening again and makes people more aware of it's okay to come out and it's okay to say these things, and it's okay to, it's okay to speak your truth and you to believe these victims and whatnot. And the NHL did everything it had to do. We did a full investigation, and it found the validity to all of these claims. Because that is the truth. Is of course, I do have to mention there's due process. There's always due process. But now that these claims have been validated and have been confirmed, and that everything that has come out has been proven true, the NHL came down and brought the hammer down on all of these individuals. And if there's further legal action that needs to take place, that's going to be obviously up to the system. But a terrible story that hopefully, people will be able to feel better about coming out about this in the future if this happens. If hopefully it never does, but if it does happen again.
So for those who don't know the story, in the 2010 season, in the postseason, the Chicago Blackhawks called up their Black Aces, which are players that are called up during the playoffs. And one of them was sexually abused by the team's video coach, I believe. Yeah. It turned out to be Kyle Beach. He did bring it to the right people. They completely ignored it. Because Chicago was on a run that would eventuate in a Stanley Cup, and things were said along the lines of, we can't deal with this distraction right now. Winning is more important than this. Keeping in mind, this was 11 years ago, and I'm not saying that as an excuse. 11 years ago, the conversation on this was very different. The Me Too movement had not happened yet. USA Gymnastics had not happened yet. I'm only mentioning that because, again, it doesn't excuse the behavior in any way. It's a different time. All right. I'm going to bring that full circle in a minute. All right. But yeah, this player came out. He played a career, completely devastated him in his ability to play the game. It probably ruined his career, for lack of a better word. And yeah, the chickens came home to roost this past week. Joe Quenneville, who is an amazing NHL coach, will never coach again. It is well known that he knew about it. Obviously, Stan Bowman, gone. Anybody involved with that in the executive roles have been gone. To clarify it for a few people, I've been asked this all week. What about the players? What about Patrick Kane? What about Jonathan Taves? Well, guys, look, here's the deal. I look at that. If one of their teammates came up to them and said that, should they have done something? Yes. Were they potentially fearful for their jobs too? Yes. Yeah. All right. So I'm not saying that they did the right thing. They didn't, but the players in this situation are in a very different spot than management and coaches in terms of what they're able to do. So again, this is a tough one. I'm not excusing them for not standing up for their teammate, but you're going to have a hard time proving that they were not fearful for their jobs as well. Again, this is a different time in the NHL. All right. And in the world. moving forward, next thing I keep asking, well, the NHL is not doing enough. Let me be perfectly clear about what's going on right now. There is nothing that the NHL, the Chicago Blackhawks, or anyone could do that would be enough. There is no enough in this situation. This was a gross, horrendous situation in which a player was not protected by his own players union, the league, or the team. Okay. So it didn't matter if it was a $2 million fine or an $80 billion fine. It wouldn't have been enough. On top of that, I'm not sure quite why people are blaming the NHL for this situation. The NHL is handling this now, 10 years too late, but they're doing it. Batman did come out and say this is a learning process for everyone here. All right. Everyone has to learn from this. This is a wake-up call. All right. And yes, there are rumblings that in the Pittsburgh Penguins organization now there is another player that is coming out. I hope Kyle Beach's example does bring people out. Of any team that it's happened to, including the team that I root for. If that happened, it needs to be taken care of. This is bigger than sport.
Yes.
And I'll be honest with you, Ray, when it comes to pro sport, youth sport, collegiate sport, we are really starting to lose touch with what's important. All right. I'm sorry. No Stanley Cup championship. No championship. We talk about this in baseball all the time. Is worth this. It's just not. It's just not. All right. Like you want to use, look at USA Gymnastics and ruin people's lives, ruin these women's lives. And then Simone Biles says, I need to take a mental health break. And we have the gall to go after her after she's won how many gold medals for our country and missed a sexual abuse allegation. That's true. We're losing touch here, people. There's some things bigger than sport. This is bigger than sport.
Yep.
All right. So the NHL is doing what the NHL does. They, as Ray said, they did an investigation. They clearly did not have their eyes open enough. They admitted that they're making changes. I don't know what more people want them to do. I really don't. All right. Like progress happens slow. This isn't anything new. All right. If they continue to ignore it, like, if a team cheated to win the Stanley Cup and just got away with it, that would be a problem for me.
Yeah.
All right. But I think that this has been handled, albeit way too late. It's been handled correctly. And I will say this, Ray, and then I'll shut up. Joe Quenneville's parting letter, I actually thought it was quite good. It was very short. He showed in the letter remorse for what happened and contrition. He went out of his way to mention Kyle Beach by name, which I thought that was a very big deal, and apologized for essentially ruining his life. All right. So he acknowledged him. He said his name. That's actually quite a powerful moment for Beach, in my opinion. All right. Even though nothing's going to make him feel better.
Right.
All right. And I think that, this is not the first time this has been a problem in hockey, unfortunately. And I think that the doors have been blown open on this. And to the listeners out there, Kyle Beach is a hero. He's a hero. To have the guts to stand up and talk about this insanely embarrassing, horrible thing that happened. And the reason he came out, guys, the reason he came out and did this, I don't know if a lot of people know this, Ray. The reason he brought this to the forefront is because the coach that molested him was let go freely, and he molested another player, a high school student. All right. And that's what made Kyle come out and say, this is enough. All right. So that guy is a hero to me, in my opinion, because it's well beyond hockey. All right. And I'm sorry, I know I'm talking a lot.
No,
all right. And I hope that this, anyone listening or anybody that has any experience with this is not afraid to come, is not afraid to bring this to the forefront, because it is incredible. There's a lot of monsters out there, man, but it's incredible that we would choose winning over other people. It's just, it's not a surprise to me. Don't get me wrong, but it's amazing to me at that level that can happen. So that's my piece.
No, I think you put it perfectly. There's nothing else to say on this.
No.
It's that Kyle Beach, good for him. And, hopefully healing can begin for him and for
that there is.
like, well, exactly. Yeah, I mean, of course, yeah, like, yeah. And just and now again, like you said, and like I said, is that hopefully others who, if they experience this, which I hope they haven't, but if they have,
it happens in all walks.
Well, yeah, I know, but
there's
again,
some sick ass people out there.
Oh yeah,
Right?
oh yeah, I know,
Like I said, talk about anti-heroes from the geek segment. There was a man today who was convicted of murder, but he killed a sex trafficker that sold his daughter.
Yeah,
the guy's a hero to me.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So like the guy that committed the murder, just in case anybody needed clarification on that.
Yeah, that's like an action movie kind of thing. That's Taken, basically.
Like, I hope he gets out on good behavior in about 4 hours.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably a dude who,
I'll tell you right now, I would do the same effing thing. Someone touched my kids, I would kill them. I'm not kidding, and I'm incriminating myself right now, and I don't care, Ray. If anybody ever did it to my kids, I'd kill them.
I'll get the shovel.
You'd be right there with me, right? Exactly. Ray and Lee were going to jail together. Welcome to episode 1 of Geeks Behind Bars Who Like Sports.
Oh gosh, that'd be like Ernest. It's like Ernest does Halloween. Ernest goes to jail.
Yeah, we goes to jail. We have to make up our own segments. We don't really know what's going on out there outside the jail. So this week, the DCU and the MCU combined with the Dark Horse CU, which is now a thing.
Yeah, we're gonna make it a thing now. Oh man. Well, speaking of combining, that will end that very serious subject.
It's extremely serious, right?
Yes.
But let's switch easy. The NHL is actually off to a great start. It's been a pretty good, successful start to the NHL season outside of this.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I want to say one more thing, Ray, if that's okay.
Yeah.
I feel so bad for the fans of Chicago, because I remember when they were revving up the engine in like 2008 and bringing everybody back, and then they won that cup, and they won 3 cups in 5 years or whatever, or 6 years, whatever it was. And it's just, now they can't even sell tickets. In fact, I think I read this to you last night. A hot dog at the game is it costs more than a ticket right now. I'm not kidding. Yeah. Like the Chicago management have screwed that franchise too many times in its history at this point. And it's amazing that that's where they can't sell tickets to the games. And here's the thing. I don't know if I'd bring my kids to those games either with what's going on. I don't know if I would. Right. Like I said, and again, if this was my team, probably would stop rooting for them for a while. I'm not kidding. And that would be painful, but it would happen. Anyway, everybody else in the league outside the Arizona Coyotes is doing great.
Yeah. I mean, as the last check, the Carolina Hurricanes are undefeated. The Kraken are 3-5-1, not a terrible start.
No.
The Rangers, the Rangers are 6-2-1, basically single-handedly because of Igor Shesterkin. Literally, it's the only reason why we're 6-2-1, folks. I think I said that in last night's stream. Shesterkin standing on his head. But yeah, next week I think we'll have some deeper actual hockey discussion. As we move now into our mashup.
What, we're not going to talk about hockey at all? We're not going to talk about the Kraken throwing fish in the stands or anything like that?
Oh, I don't know. I thought because we were such a serious subject. I think, do you want to talk about the Salmon?
I want to talk about the good side of hockey. You don't just talk about the bad. It's not baseball. There's not a bad side to everything.
Okay.
So Andrew Craig says in chat, "Go Leafs, go." I mean, okay. Andrew, I'm not anti-Leafs, but you guys amaze me.
The Leafs aren't going. Another first round exit, 15 years in a row.
I think it's safe to say, Ray, that since the Cubs and the Red Sox have won, I think you guys are up. In the sense of, I think
55 years now.
I think you're the new 1960 7? Yeah, I think you guys.
Cleveland in baseball, 1948, I believe it was.
The Guardians. The Guardians.
No, that's why I said. I just said Cleveland. I didn't say.
The Cleveland. The Tribe will never win again.
Yeah.
The Guardians. But the Leafs. Listen, Andrew. I've got nothing against the Leafs. The Leafs made the classic mistake, in my opinion. You have some great players there, some unbelievable players, and you spent far too much money building a team that has not performed in the playoffs. And I don't even mean like, oh, you guys got unlucky. Like, they're not performing. They don't go to that next level, right? I think I'm not. This is gonna sound mean. I don't mean it to be. It's great that Justin Bieber wrote you guys a song. All right. But I don't know what the hell's going on in Toronto that they can't figure this out and win a cup, right? Or at least get to the third round. Last year was your shot. And
Yeah.
I don't know what happened there.
Yeah, how you lost to Montreal is beyond me.
Yeah.
It just
I thought
and they were like, oh, well, then they moment and Montreal rode that momentum because of that huge how huge an upset that was. And that's why when Montreal got against Tampa Bay, it was such a mismatch. Like Montreal got steamrolled because Montreal didn't deserve to be there, in my opinion. Yeah. No offense, guys.
And to be fair to Andrew, those listening to this on the playback, he agrees with me. I kind of feel bad for Leafs fans because it is a great franchise. It is a great historical team. It's got great players that don't seem to have that extra edge to win. And it's a shame. But speaking of the rest of the NHL, the Metropolitan Division showing already it's the best division in the league. Even the bottom feeder in that division, who is it today? I'm looking it up right now. I think the Devils and Penguins. No, it's the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Islanders of all teams. Keep in mind that there's a little bit of variance on how many games have been played, but the Penguins are 3-3, which is not a bad record.
No.
So that division's awesome. And you got to give a shout out to the 8-0 Carolina Hurricanes, the only team not to lose a game in the month of October. That's a pretty incredible feat. But I did say, I think in my season preview, that the Carolina Hurricanes are right there to win the Stanley Cup this year. They're off to a hot start. Rangers off to a hot start. Washington Capitals, Alex Ovechkin. Everybody thought they'd just be worried about the goal record. Well, they are. They're going for that and for the division. Philadelphia Flyers off to one of the best starts in years with a 5-2-1 record. Columbus is right there. New Jersey is 4-2-1. Everyone's right there. The entire division. Then you go to the Atlantic Division, 8-0 Florida Panthers, and then Buffalo Sabres, 5-2. That will not last. They will completely crumble at some point. I know that's going to be there because Tampa Bay, Toronto, somehow Detroit, Boston, everyone's there as well. Montreal having a horrible start without Carey Price. That was not to be unexpected. St. Louis Blues off to a great start as well. They look like they're pissed off. Jordan Bennington swinging a stick at other people on the ice, looking like an absolute 1970s Ron Hextall, 1980s Ron Hextall, pissed off at the world and ready to fight. It's good to see all these teams in these divisions again. And then after 10 games played, the Arizona Coyotes, 9-1. Yeah. 1 point minus 29 goal differential.
Yeah, they're bad. They're bad.
That's rough.
Nobody expected them to be good, but nobody expected them to be this bad.
That's rough. All right. And again, not by far the worst team in the entire NHL right now, which is funny because the next worst team is the Montreal Canadiens, followed by the Ottawa Senators, and then it's like the Kraken. But
Montreal's what, 2-7 or something?
Yeah, they are. I'm looking at 3-8. That's right. Yeah. They played more games than anybody else.
No,
so, but look, without Carey Price, there's just no way.
No, for sure, and that's definitely hurt them. That would be they'd have a couple more wins with him,
right?
But they are and then limping along.
I'd say the Pacific Division is the next most competitive division after the Metropolitan. Metropolitan is the best by far. But Edmonton off to a 7-1 hot start. Before they have an injury or they make the playoffs and don't know what to do again.
Yeah,
they got a team that should have been in the Cup final last year. Man, Toronto, Edmonton, Toronto, they gave you the golden ticket, and you let the Blueberry Girl win. Come on, I want it now. That's Toronto. Right, gosh. The TV kid is Edmonton. What's his name? Rick TV.
Mike TV.
That's Edmonton. All right, Montreal, you're the Blueberry Girl. I don't remember the rest of them.
Oh gosh.
I think Charlie's probably Tampa at this point.
Yeah, he'll come back in the end. He'll be fine.
He's always there. Who's Willy Wonka? Who's the chocolate factory? Is it Bettman?
Yeah, I guess.
The world of pure imagination on ice.
But yeah, no, it is interesting. Speaking of the Rangers, are up 1-0 right now in Vancouver. Shesterkin standing on his head again.
Flyers beat the Arizona Coyotes 3-0 tonight.
Oh, there you go. Well, hopefully the Rangers hold on. It's midway through the second period. They're nursing a 1-0 lead. Zibanejad getting his second goal of the season. Hopefully he starts to wake up.
Andrew says in chat that Montreal's run was a fluke. Call me salty Leafs fan, but they were completely rode the momentum.
I agree. That's what I said. Yeah.
I'll say this. Look, this is what I'll say. I think beating you was a fluke. I think when a team gets to the finals, they deserve to be there, whether it's they rode the momentum or not. They earned the right to be there. But here's the deal, Andrew. If you're a Leafs fan, you should be salty. Like if someone called me salty right now as a Leafs fan, like, yeah, I'm pretty salty. We've never won in my lifetime, and we've had really, really good teams. Obviously, if you were born after 67. All right. So Andrew says Pacific is the worst division. I'll put it this way: from a parity standpoint, you never know who's going to win in the Pacific Division any night of the week. So it's competitive in that sense. It's definitely not comparable to the Metropolitan, and the other divisions are just top heavy. But look, you never know what's going to happen in the Pacific. Let's be honest. But yeah, if you're a Leafs fan, you should be salty. It's like Yankees fans this year, a little salty. It's okay to be salty. It's okay to be who you are. This is Ray. I think you'll agree with me. The Northeast teams in Toronto, you would fit into this. You're just Canadian, which means you're naturally polite. Okay, but Northeast teams expect to win. It's just the way it is, unless you're Buffalo. Okay, Sabres at least. It's okay to be salty. We'll boo our own teams here. That's one of the things I never understand. Like, if teams playing bad, like, it's okay to support them, but also boo them. Like, if they're playing bad,
you gotta let them know. Yeah,
I've noticed this. Like,
you paid money to go to that game. Yeah, but like,
you're not a true flyer until you've been booed.
Yeah, there you go. So, one other fun story for the NHL: as the Kraken try to establish an identity, I saw this. I thought it was very funny.
This was
there are 3 stars of the game, of course, a time-honored hockey tradition. Instead of throwing pucks into the stands, the players throw salmon, stuffed salmon.
Something you and I have seen in person.
In Pike Market, obviously, it's one of the most iconic touristy things in Seattle. And so the hope is they actually have a slingshot to try and get it like several rows back. None of the players have used the slingshots yet.
They will.
But hopefully they will. And it's just a nice little thing to kind of give them a bit of an identity and embrace the city of Seattle.
Can you see that conversation? Well, Vegas has a guy in a night suit and music and a band and everything. What should we do? Salmon.
Well, the funny thing is actually that the people who came up with the salmon idea are the same people who came up with the Vegas
that's
ideas.
Not surprising to me. I'll tell you what, though. Look, Vegas is the greatest expansion team in the history of expansion teams. I'm going to say that right now.
For sure.
How they entered.
You went to the Cup in your first year.
Yeah, there's never been anything quite that prolific.
Yeah, right. And again, and we also obviously put the asterisk. Yes, the Blues went in their first year in expansion year, where they lost to the Leafs, if I remember correctly. That was 7. But that was the expansion year where literally the entire Western Conference was created, and somebody had to go to the top.
Best expansion team of all time. Colorado was not an expansion team; it was a relocation.
Right.
I've never seen anybody hit quite that well in any sport. Right. So yeah. The salmon thing is cool. Seattle's a very, 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 very different city than Las Vegas.
Yes.
In fact, those two cities would not mingle well at all.
No.
And I've been to both multiple times. So I'm sorry, I've been to Vegas multiple times. I've been to Seattle once. It was a great time in both cities. But different vibe up there. Seattle's goal right now is to be bigger than Vancouver.
And I think they're on the way to that.
Yes,
actually,
they might be. If I was a Canucks fan, I'd be thinking twice right now.
Yeah,
I will say this though, Ray. Last thing. I've done kind of my final audit on the Kraken jersey, and it's nice, but it's just kind of okay. The more I look at it,
it's fine.
Yeah, it's nothing special. Like the Vegas jerseys were groundbreaking. They brought that clay color into sports really for the first time. There's actual gold in it. Again, everything Vegas did was just amazing. It was very Vegas, but amazing. The Seattle jersey is cool. It's cool. It definitely fits. It's slightly unique in terms of the NHL.
Yeah,
but it's not the most amazing things. Other teams have worn that dark blue. The teal is not new either. The Sharks did that. It's a little bit more of a blue teal than a green teal.
Right.
The logo is great. I'll give them that. The logo is phenomenal. But it's just kind of okay.
Yeah. I completely agree. I think it's fun. I watched the game Rangers versus Kraken on Sunday, and it was fine.
Yeah, it's fine. It's like I don't hate it. Don't really love it. I wouldn't buy one.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah. I was like super on board, like ready to be on board with it, and I was kind of like, now I see an action.
Yeah, it's just okay. Like I would get a Vegas jersey that clay colored Vegas. That jersey's awesome.
Yeah,
That dark, the home
it
jersey
is.
for Vegas is
It
awesome.
is. I'll admit that. I'll admit that.
It's awesome.
Yeah. If I were to get something besides a Rangers jersey, I would do that one.
Yeah,
I think
that
that's
one's
fair.
nice. Definitely wouldn't be a Leafs jersey. Keep going.
No. All right. So that brings us now to our mashup
of the week.
As we approach the end of the show, Lee came up with this one on the fly. Which game should have a Ring of Honor?
Ray, you can go first on this one.
So, of course, Ring of Honor, taking the words, of course, Ring of Honor now, guys, bye-bye, or going by, or on a high.
We're creating our own.
Yeah. So if we were going to have a wrestling federation with a game,
and by the way, it cannot be an already collaborative franchise. So like, Smash Brothers
doesn't work.
Yeah, like
right.
because it's too easy, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, what's interesting is you're starting to see those Smash Brother games. Sony tried to do one a few years ago and it didn't work.
Yeah.
But now you're seeing that with Nickelodeon. There's rumors that Warner Brothers is doing a Smash Brothers style game. So that's interesting.
Why wouldn't you? They're awesome. If you hit it right.
If you can pull off the balancing, if you can do and have it be fun enough, it can work. But there's already this thing called Injustice, so I don't really need Warner Brothers to do another fight.
Yeah, I was just thinking that too.
Injustice, Mortal Kombat, like
DC versus Mortal Kombat. They did it in that.
Yeah.
That was a good game.
It was solid. That game was very underrated at the time. A lot of folks ragged on it, but I did not hate it.
I just like the part of the beginning. It's like, do you want fatalities? Because Superman gonna die.
That's what they're like. Well, we're gonna do brutalities instead.
Yeah, Superman can't die.
Right. But yeah, even though he technically could, but like they're not gonna do that with that.
He's died before and came back.
Yeah, he's died before and he came back. It's comic books, that's what happens. Anyway, Wrestling Federation for a video game. This is a good one. This is a tough one. But for some reason, the first thing I think of that I think would be good would be Gears of War. I was going to Gears.
Sure.
Those are bigger guys. Obviously, they're kind of all jacked up. So they'd be like the late 80s steroid era of WWE, more kind of Wrestling Federation, but Gears of War is there. Kind of same thing with Halo. I think all the Spartans would make a good Wrestling Federation, although they're all kind of the same. They'd all be kind of more one note. But those are the ones that kind of immediately come to mind. You could do something like maybe like an Uncharted, but like Nathan Drake is like a jobber because he constantly is getting beat up that whole game. Although he finds a way to win in the end. But Lee, what about you? What are your thoughts? What would be your Ring of Honor gaming wrestling federation?
Well, I think the one that lends itself. I mean, I think you're just going to agree with me on this one. I'm going to kind of preface it, but the one that obviously lends itself the most is Punch Out.
Oh yeah, I mean, you're going from boxing to wrestling, so the characters
totally work. I wouldn't mind seeing Honda fight, King.
Well, Piston Honda, E Honda Street Fighter.
Doing that. I did that before in another show. Sorry. Yeah. E Honda versus
Piston Honda is Punch Out. E Honda is Street Fighter.
You're 100% right. I don't know why I keep doing that. It's funny because I'm thinking E Honda when I say it too, which is weird. That's
totally Street Fighter.
Yeah, I know. I'm super aware of that. I think Chun-Li in Mike Tyson's Punch Out. No, that's not.
Yeah.
I think Punch Out would work. Another one, Ray. I was thinking it was a Metal Gear.
Huh.
I could see that, like Solid Snake and a bunch of the bad guys,
Psycho Mantis and all that. Yeah,
they've had some good ones in Metal Gear. If you do the franchise, you know what I mean.
Yeah, you have to go through all 5. You'd have Vamp probably from 2.
You know what else would be fun? Really fun. Again, this one's cliche, but Resident Evil would totally work.
Oh yeah, that is actually. I think that is a good one. That is a good one. Yeah.
Stars. Yeah. Oh my God, people today, young people today, you'll never understand the fear that was playing PlayStation 2. Was it 1 or 2? It was 1.
It was 1.
PlayStation 1 in a dark room, not knowing when Nemesis would pop up and go, stars.
Yeah.
It was terrifying. That game was terrifying. And now it's hilarious.
Yeah.
I played that game. It's like, look, there he is. There's Nemesis. And then they tried to bring him up. Then he was in a movie and he wasn't that scary.
No.
You know why? Because
no stars? Yeah, I was going to say, you didn't say stars. Yeah.
No, I think Resident Evil, you get again, Nemesis. Let's go through it, right? I mean, just the basic characters, Nemesis, Lady, whatever, Stru, from today.
Lady Dimitrescu from 8, and what's his
Albert
name?
Wesker.
Wesker and the father from Resident Evil 7.
Right.
And,
I forgot what Wesker I forgot the name of the like abomination he becomes, but like it becomes something.
Yeah.
Like it's disgusting too. It was awesome, that game. Resident Evil 2 has some good ones too. I can't remember. That game was great, Resident Evil 2.
Yeah.
Especially on the train at the end, that monster. Anyway, Resident Evil would work. Resident Evil would work with a Ring of Honor. It would be disgusting, but it would be awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? It's funny now. It's like you look at Resident Evil now, it's like they don't have any issues with masks in that game. So
on
Resident
that note,
Evil would be my second pick. I think Punch Out though is the way I would go.
I think that's a good one. I think that's very fair.
We want to know
what
you
think. So obviously comment if you're watching a video afterwards, comment below, let us know on Facebook. If you're still here in chat, feel free. This is your last chance to chime in. We appreciate everybody as always for tuning in, whether it was live or after the fact. If you downloaded us, if you're hanging out, we appreciate it. Listening on a long road trip as everybody, folks are starting to go back to the office. A lot of folks starting to go back to work and whatnot. And
you can come to my office. We're opening an office here.
Oh, there you go.
Come on over. I got a desk for you. It's Ray's desk.
It's right.
You can have it. Yeah. You can.
How many video games come with the desk?
Ray, honestly, I will give you full access to the entire library of everything if you want. It's my office. This is my office. This isn't like some corporation that's running it. I'm running it. There's a gaming room. I'm serious. I'm thinking about getting a X-Men. What's it called?
The arcade cabinet.
Yes.
Oh, are you getting the big one or are you getting like a little one?
I'm gonna get an actual cabinet.
Yeah, like you gotta get the big one.
Yeah, I'm not getting a little tiny one.
Because I remember I've seen where there's like the little ones with only like 4 players, but it's like no, you gotta get the 6-player.
I want the actual one so that I can completely slack off from running my own company. Yes.
Okay. Fantastic. Andrew mentions in chat he would do a Wii Sports Federation.
That would actually not be bad. That would not be bad if in terms of parody, it would be fine.
I don't know.
Hey, the Mii's are in Smash Brothers, man.
I know. I hate that they're in Smash Brothers.
I do too, but I mean, there's also a hand. So like you gotta.
But that makes sense because like in the original Smash Brothers, they were all toys and you were playing together, and the Master Hand was actually the person's hand. And the toys fought back.
I love that Master Hand is a bad guy. I think that's amazing.
Yeah. And then it introduces his other hand, which is Crazy Hand, and that's Crazy Hand and Master Hand. Anyway, so that'll do it for us for this week, folks. We really appreciate everybody hanging in. Again, let us know what you guys think on all the topics we talked about today. Some serious fun, some fun. That's how it goes a lot of times. That's the way that's the world we live in. But yeah, so thank you all so much for tuning in. As always, we will see you next week for episode 131. But this is the end of episode 130. For Lee, I am Ray. We will see you all hopefully next week. Have yourselves a great week, everybody. Take care and bye-bye.